wasn't ready. I lost it. Welcome to Brother Time. Remember, we do not offer medical, financial, or any other professional advice. We're just here to talk about things we want to talk about. So take a grain of salt with it. In the darkest times, even the faintest light can be blinding. I'm Isaac, 5 of 10.
And the darkest times, even the faintest light. So like when it's late at night and your phone has like an alert and you look at it.
And you're like, wow, the brightness settings must be way up on this. And you look and it's at the darkest setting.
Yeah.
Boom. Evidence. I mean, or you could, kind of, what's it called when you take it in a vague way? Anyways, you vague it up and you could say, when someone's had a hard life, like any sort of kindness can seem over the top.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. Like if you're starved for kindness, it can have a great impact. I mean, I think that's why you should always kind of be nice to everyone. Yeah. Unfortunately, a lot of people take advantage, and so.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's why we should have boundaries too, and that's something I struggle with. But we'll talk about that later. I sometimes will eat dessert first. And it's just a decision I make at the time. It's not like a rule I have. It's like if we're going to have dinner and there's ice cream that's going to be for dessert, sometimes I will break that out and eat it first.
Like in front of the kids?
Well, there's no way. Okay. You're talking about stage 4 riots if I don't share with the kids.
No, yes. I'm just picturing kids with like a plate full of vegetables and you just like sit down and pull out a carton of ice cream.
I should try that sometime. I should, just as a power move. And they'll be like, why don't we get ice cream? Because I'm your dad. I make the rules. What about you?
I tend to not. No, I don't do that. I always have dessert usually after dinner, which if you think about it, dessert after breakfast makes a lot more sense because it's early in the day.
Yeah, you have the whole day to process that.
Yeah, whereas you do it after dinner, it's probably, a little before bedtime that you're eating ice cream.
Probably going to convert those calories to fat just so you'd have it for the next day. It's like packing yourself a lunch, right? It's like, here, we'll save these for later. And then the next day you're like, no, I don't want that packed lunch. And so it becomes like leftovers in the fridge.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess so. And, like if you've already stored it as fat, like your stomach is still going to be hungry, right? And so you're going to be caught in this cycle of, eating, turning it into fat, and then being hungry and eating. And, I've heard that the way we do things in America is really backwards. With like people tend to eat a light breakfast, and then
in the world or in America.
Well, I think in America this is pretty typical. Eat a light breakfast, or sometimes I just skip breakfast altogether.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then eat a moderate lunch, but then eat a very large dinner.
Yeah, that seems American.
Yeah, it's kind of backwards. It should be like kind of the other way around. Like,
wait,
large
what country
breakfast.
does it the other way? They're like, let's eat a big.
I don't
breakfast.
know.
You're just saying like maybe all of humanity does it backwards.
Well, I don't know about. I'm sure that's typical in America. I don't know if it's typical in other countries. So I was just saying in America, but.
The intermittent fasting crowd, they tend to try to eat a big breakfast, big lunch, and no dinner if they can. Or what they try to do is shrink the window in which they're eating. So you have a eat start time and an eat stop time, and you try to make that closer and closer together. I think it's smart. It makes sense, the logic, so you're not spending
it does
a lot
make
of
sense.
lunches. You're not converting a lot to fat.
Do you think there are people that take it really way too far with that? Like they have a timer next to them and they stack their food up really high and then hold it above them and like as fast as they could, they set the timer and they shove it into their mouth like in one fell swoop. Like, yes, Only ate
Did
for
it.
5 seconds today.
I don't know. Let's think about that over break. Oh man, that I feel like you've broke the code for their diet, but I also think they try to proportion as well and not get crazy. Um, I've heard of diets where they have like cheat days, and I think that's dumb. I don't think you're actually gonna do a lot of good to your body if you're undoing the good. But I'm not a dietitian.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not one either. I will say when I've kind of gotten lax about counting calories, but when I was really strict about it, I would give myself a cheat day. Where here's the thing, if you're counting calories, you're not eating a lot. And so anything that you would typically eat while not counting calories feels like a cheat day. I think if you're The Rock, have you seen his cheat day? This was a long time ago. He posted
No.
about it.
What is his cheat day?
He ate like several pizzas, a large tray of brownies, and there was more to it than that. But
Oh
I mean,
my
if
gosh.
you're The Rock, I guess you can pull that off if you're like working out,
That is
6 hours a day or
insane.
whatever. But
No way.
yeah, no. When he posted that, I was like, okay, I don't feel so bad about my cheat
It's
day being
cheat
like
day.
a
He
bowl
just
of ice
folds
cream or
the
something.
pizza up until like he keeps folding it until it's just like one massive slice, and then he eats it.
Yeah, the thing is you don't forget that you have to make up those calories. I think cheat days can be good as long as you're aware of the work it takes, cuz when you're thinking about that, the cheat day becomes more of what am I willing to sacrifice to kind of like sate my sweet tooth, cuz it can, it can be like a desert, and that cheat day is like a glass of water. You're like
Yeah.
dying for something sweet. But
Yeah. I did want to dive into some political news. I'm sure you heard that someone shot at Trump and
yeah,
grazed his
I
ear.
first saw it on TikTok.
What?
Yeah,
That's
I think like shortly after it happened, like I was scrolling TikTok and then suddenly my TikTok was all like different angles of that happening.
wow. That's actually pretty neat that you got like different angles of it going down. I read a mainstream article about it, and something I know this probably isn't really political news, but something that always strikes me in these situations is that they don't know the motivation. I don't know. We don't know why he did it. It's so confusing. We can't figure it out. All the resources that they're pouring into it, they can't figure it out. Why would he shoot Trump? I don't know. I guess Trump is a perfect saint and there's no reason to shoot him is what they're saying. Um or they might be, just hiding the ideology of just idiocy, just hiding the idiocy that they're connected to.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
heard someone say that I probably shouldn't repeat it, but that they were Antifa. They were an Antifa person. But anyways.
Okay. So I mean, I think it's better that they say they don't know, but rather than, because it wasn't long ago. It was like today when they finally got some more answers on like the guy's name. They did like a DNA test to make sure it was him.
Yeah. Crooks
But
is his last name, right? That's what.
let's see, FBI Thomas Matthew Crooks. Yeah. So I don't think that's necessarily a problem. I think I'd rather, especially like if they had come out and said immediately this was an assassination attempt by someone who, was against Trump's view on XYZ or thought Trump was going to be bad for as president and wasn't going to help things, or like, that would be pure speculation. And even now they don't really know.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm sure they have his manifesto. I'm sure they have it. Like it's going to come out in a year after the election's over. Oh, here's the manifesto of Crooks when when the Freedom of Information Act kicks in and they're no longer able to hide it from us. I feel like that's when it's going to come out. And it's just a little annoying. That's all. I don't like I'm not a huge Trump fan, and I'm also not a huge fan of assassinating people up for election. I think it's definitely a move that it shows such a self-importance that you're willing to take away other people's choice, like a majority choice. Like I wouldn't want Biden to get assassinated either. Like I don't like Biden. Don't really like Trump. Wouldn't cry for either of them. Sorry. I would be upset for democracy though if either of them perished.
Yeah.
Especially by assassination.
Yeah. And if anything's gonna in a sense unify people, it's the notion that there should be no violence in a democracy. It has no place.
That's
like assassination attempts, even just like people getting mad at each other and punching each other because they don't like the other person's views. Come on. It's ridiculous. There shouldn't be a place for it. I think Biden's response was really good, where he basically said, no matter who you are, you need to condemn this, should always condemn violence. And it's kind of like, yeah, duh, of course. But it's good. It's good for the opposing person to come out and say that very clearly. And not like give any kind of like sly approval of this kind of behavior.
No, like, even though we disagree, you shouldn't shoot at him. Wink.
Yeah, or even just saying like, you're very special. We love you. Please don't do that anymore. Okay, you're very special.
Yeah.
Don't say anything like that, because that's not condemning it. That's literally saying that they're good, they're special, they're unique, they're valuable.
Oh yeah,
but stop doing it.
It's a way of manipulating. Please don't do it again. That's why I say wink, because it's like it's implied that you should do it again, almost.
Yeah.
Not directly.
That would be a bad response, but I think just saying unequivocally, condemn it. This is terrible for democracy. I think that's the right response. But hopefully, in the coming days, I mean, information's been coming out pretty quick, I think, on who the shooter was. This probably doesn't have anything to do with it, but he was technically a registered, what was it, Republican voter?
Interesting.
Yeah, that I thought was interesting. So anyway.
Yeah, no, it'd be like I said, I'm sure there's a lot of information there that just isn't out yet, like what kind of medications he was on, that sort of thing. That's like they already know it. They already know everything. I mean, Google knows everything about us more than we know about ourselves. So Google has a profile on them that they probably already handed over anyways. Just, yeah. Not that I think killers should be, or assassinating attempters should be promoted. I don't even like that I know his name. But I do think that a backlash of consequences for whatever his ideology is actually good. So he's undoing anything that he was hoping to fight against, because clearly his ideology is of self-superiority, that his opinions matter more than anyone else's, that his vote counts more than anyone else's, and whatever ideology he's falling behind, I think it should be torn down.
Yeah, I think that's a necessary consequence to deter anyone else from thinking that this could ever be the right choice. Because if he's against Trump, I'm going to assume he is, obviously. Like, it would be bizarre if he wasn't, right?
Yeah, like this was intentionally a fake, falsified attempt. I'm not going to say it's outside of the realm of possibility, but not a lot of people would die for that.
And here's the thing, like, he would have to be like the best sniper ever, I think, impossibly good to be able to nick Trump's ear like that and have it be a quote unquote miss if he
it was only
intentionally
200
did that.
yards. It was only 200 yards.
Oh, okay.
Also, which isn't, I mean, if you're, I don't think he had a scope, so that would make it a little more difficult. 200 yards is not that far for the position that he was shooting from. I don't think the guy had any sort of training, or he didn't know how to do proper like windage or something. It didn't look like a windy day from the pictures, but yeah, I guess part of the problem might have been that he was aiming for the head, but who knows? He might have been aiming for the chest and hit the ear. That's also possible.
Yeah. In any case, like,
yeah,
he accomplished the exact opposite of what he was trying to do.
Yeah.
If he was trying to silence Trump for some reason, now people are listening extra close. If he wanted to hurt his campaign somehow by doing this is like probably like, okay, it might be early to say something like this, but it's probably the best thing that could possibly happen to a campaign is an assassination attempt. Because guess what? People that were on the fence are like, oh, okay, I'm voting for Trump.
Yeah, I don't want to be on that side of the fence. The side that assassinates or removes options from others.
Yeah.
Distance yourself from that.
Yeah.
But that's something that, well, I feel like it actually relates to boundaries, but let's take a quick break. Yeah, I feel like I have a problem with setting boundaries. I feel like you're actually good at it, and I want to know your secret, man.
Like setting boundaries for what?
You're just good at so this is going to sound dumb, but it's like at the end of the phone call when you're done talking, I'm done talking, you're just like, okay, bye, click. You hang up the phone. Maybe not exactly like that, but it feels like that's almost like a boundary that you're setting where I'm not going to sit on the phone in this awkward silence at the end of a conversation and you hang up the phone. Or you're like, okay, well, my work day is over, so I'm clocking out and going home. And they're like, it feels like that's, you've already got that somehow in place where you balance out things. And me personally, when the end of the day is here and it's like, we're 30 more minutes, we could get 30 more minutes ahead of tomorrow. And it's going to rain tomorrow, so that'd be great. So I'm going to work 30 minutes. And I don't feel like it's healthy, especially when it's not necessarily reciprocated or appreciated.
Okay. I
feel like you're good at it.
Okay. No, I appreciate that. I mean, what you're doing is being a manager in a task-based job. See, now, okay, like IT for me used to be very task-based, but I've since kind of accepted that it's not. It's not a job that you can be done with everything at 3 p.m. and go home early.
Yeah.
Like you're more of a steward and you need to be available during office hours.
No, that's a good, I feel like that's a good way to look at it. And it's not really different in construction because I'm not really ever done with I'm never done with the work. There's 6 months stacked up in front of me. So there's not like, oh, this 30 minutes is really going to change everything if I stay late.
Unless it does. And then you choose to, like, I mean, I'd assume there's prep to get to where you can work on something.
Yeah, there's prep and breakdown at the end.
And if you're like, if you only have 30 minutes left of work on this thing, but it's the end of the day, obviously you would just finish that out.
And I guess there's no, I tell myself at the time, oh, I'll take half a day on Friday or something like that. I'll get out early tomorrow. And that doesn't typically ever come like that. That day of early day never happens. It's just more and more late days and stretching myself further.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm trying to think of how to, I do think you should just leave right on time. I mean, I used to kind of stay late at work, and I used to come home and continue working. And there are some times where I need to do that, where
Yeah.
I'll be dealing with something, I'll come home, and then I'll keep dealing with it.
Do you
But
stay clocked in or whatever you're
well,
clocking in and out?
I don't get overtime. I'm exempt, so it doesn't really matter if I have to work at home or not.
Well, the reason I say that is because it's a boundary of like I've committed 40 hours a week. Friday rolls around, I stayed late Tuesday, or I worked late Tuesday, I'm leaving early. And if someone says something, well, like I logged 12 hours on Tuesday and I'm not getting paid for it. So
yeah, sometimes I'll kind of try to do that a little bit. Like I'll try to make it up in some other way just to kind of regulate my own personal, because I think time away from work is a lot more important than people. I mean, we're not as bad as Japan in terms of work-life balance. Like,
yeah, I was just saying something about that.
Yeah, they work ridiculous hours, and it's considered like good because you're, showing your devotion to the company by working like 18-hour days. And I mean, we're not to that point, thankfully, but I mean, you don't need 40 hours in a week, frankly, to bring the value that you bring to the company. You just don't need it. It's unnecessary.
Yeah.
So working more than that in a week is kind of shooting yourself in the foot, I think.
Yeah.
And
it's
not good for your health. You need time away from work.
That I was seeing stuff about Japan and some companies, how they'll just like the whole office will sleep by their desk. Like they'll have little roll up bed rolls, and some will sleep in their office chair. And it's odd, but it's kind of like what we think of like Elon Musk probably does, right? Like he sleeps at the office. He's there at 5 and leaves at 10 o'clock at night. That sort of thing. And I know you're a huge Elon fan, so I won't get you started on gushing about him.
Yeah,
but that's sort of you probably want 2 Cybertrucks, just so you can.
I saw a Cybertruck on the road the other day.
Isn't it weird to see them?
Yeah, like
they're real. It's a real thing.
Yeah, and like I had heard that, or I'd like seen videos where they said like, I know it looks bad, but in person, it actually looks really cool. No, it doesn't.
What did you
actually?
think in person?
Like I was expecting, because I kind of saw it from a distance. I'm like, okay, because it was on the highway and I was getting closer to it. Like, okay, I'll see if it actually. Nope, it did not look cool. It looks like a dump truck. It is such a bad shape for a car.
It doesn't look like a car to me, or a truck. It's just a weird shape. I agree. Yeah. But boundaries, I think what we've talked mostly about is time boundaries.
Yeah.
And I just bumped against one of your intellectual boundaries, where you don't really like talking about Elon in a positive light.
Yeah.
But there are more things that we deal with, like emotional boundaries, things we don't want to talk about, or taking on others' burdens emotionally. There's all sorts of boundaries. I think the ones that I want to work on though are the time boundaries. So I guess how did you start establishing those, or is it a mindset?
It's probably more of a mindset. I wasn't like, the thing is I don't know how to formulate this. I wasn't really thinking about how to explain how I think of stuff like that. It is so I'm going to say something that might sound, I'm just going to say it. It's mutual respect is what it is. Because if I am on the phone with you and I'm done talking, right? I don't want to talk anymore. I want to go do something else.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to ruin your day or make you upset. And so I just say it. I just say, okay, I think I'm going to go do something else now. I don't want to talk anymore. And I found that I used to feel kind of like how you described, where you feel a little bit like doing that might be rude. But the truth is, it's not a big deal for you.
No,
and
it's not.
I want to get off the phone. So
In fact, I
that's
like it. I respect you more for it, actually.
so everyone should just start doing that, because chances are the other person on the phone. Now, here's the thing. If it's like someone you know that really wants to, like, I'm thinking of like grandparents, right? That maybe want to talk on the phone for a little while longer. I mean,
Yeah.
give them more time, right? Give them more time. But most people don't want to talk, or not don't want to talk, but they'd be okay if the conversation was over. And
Yeah.
if they found out that you didn't want to keep talking, that would be offensive. That you sat
Yeah.
there
Why
and
did
like
you? Yeah. Why did you
endured.
keep? Yeah. Then you're viewing them like a chore.
Yeah.
No
So
one wants to be a chore.
it's
Maybe
like
some people do. I shouldn't say that.
you respect, and it is about respect, but it's also about like if someone's at my door, like a salesperson, I try not to be rude. I just tell them no thank you, right?
Yeah.
And I know some people struggle with that. They'll, talk to them, be like, "Hi, what's going on?" They'll start giving a spiel, and they'll listen to the whole thing.
Yeah. They'll let them go through it,
But
and they think that's good.
if I were in sales, if someone was never going to buy what I'm selling, I would rather them immediately tell me so I can move on.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like that was a good way to phrase it. I appreciate that. I'm going to try to apply it more, so anyone except for mom, I'm going to say, well, I'm done talking. When I feel like it's the end of the conversation, I got to figure out almost like a catchphrase. Well, that's all I got, so I'll talk to you later. Click.
You just
Um,
yeah.
yeah, it's like
Find
you
a
come up with
catchphrase.
yeah, because there's that. It's just awkward at the end of phone calls when we're like, yeah, you're doing good and I'm doing good. Okay.
Is that why people don't say
Yeah.
bye in movies when they're on the phone? They just hang up? Is because writers are
They
like, this is
should.
so awkward.
Yeah, goodbyes are kind of awkward. And I'm in the Midwest too, so we're all kind of trying to be polite and less awkward, which just enhances the awkwardness. But you brought up phone calls.
You could just start saying that you love them as like, okay, love you. Bye.
Oh, yeah, that's nice.
Say that to everyone, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does that work as a catchphrase? And they're like, please stop saying that to me. You're like, I'm sorry, it's my catchphrase.
That's my thing. And you mentioned salespeople and phone calls, and I know we're almost out of time, but I gotta say a new thing that I've started. I get a lot of sales calls on my phone. I take them every time.
Really?
Every time I take them.
Okay.
And I'm super overly positive about whatever they're trying to sell. Like, yes, I'm in it. I'm in it 100%. What are we buying? Okay, that's great. I'm in. Sign me up. What do I need to do to sign up? Like, how do I get money to you? And I let them talk. I don't see it over like that. I let them get whatever they're saying out. But I'm also not listening, and I'm working as they're doing it. And sometimes I'll put them on speakerphone so other people can hear what they're saying. And I just waste their time. I did not give my number to them to give me a sales call. I'm on do not call registries, so I don't feel bad at all.
Yeah.
I get them as long as they will stay on the phone with me, I will keep them. And when they're like, okay, well, I'll just need a credit card number, then I say, okay, well, I just need to clear this with my boss. Can you hold on a second? And so anyone nearby, I'm like, here, can you take this phone? And then they're like, okay. And so they get brought into it, and then they have to explain what they're trying to sell to someone else from the beginning.
I think this could be a movement to combat spam calls.
What they're going to do, if you just hang up on them, they're going right to the next number. They are going to the next person and hoping that person is either by mistake going to buy it because they're confused at what the person's selling. And I would rather just waste as much of their time as possible, because I'm able to work while they jabber, while they're talking about, oh, we Googled you and we saw your business is lacking the signage required by the Chinese Communist Party. So we need to get that. Okay, yeah. How do we do that? What do you need from me? And then, yeah. Anyways,
it would be exhausting to be so positive, though, wouldn't it? Like, yes.
Oh, it's not, because it's fake positive and it's trolling and it just. So
I mean, everyone needs to be united in this, because one person buys, one person gives them money, it all falls apart because they got what they wanted.
Also, if you tell them you're on the do not call registry, this is another scam you can pull on them. And you tell them you're on the do not call registry, right?
Yeah.
You can get a fake credit card online. It's free to do. And give them that fake credit card number and details. When they run that credit card, it doesn't charge anything to anyone. You get all their company information, and you're then allowed to sue them for $2,000. They have to pay a fine.
Oh.
$2,000, $1,500 of which goes to you. So, if you wanted to take it a step further, say, "Hey, by the way, I'm on the do not call registry," and they're like, "Oh yeah, that's fine, blah blah blah. We still sell stuff to you." And then you use that. Yeah, someone developed a way, because how do you get these guys otherwise?
Yeah.
You're like, "What company do you work for?" They hang up.
Yeah.
They know from the tone of your voice, and they ramble all that stuff at the beginning. "Hey, I'm with you, and I'm here to talk to you about your internet service." Yeah, they don't care. They're not trying to be ethical or above board.
Right.
They're just trying to get away with what they know they're not supposed to. Anyways,
that's interesting. I wonder if you could automate using AI, automate some kind of like little side business that makes those kinds of reports and gets that 1,500.
That is brilliant. You should set something like that up. But they're going to have AI automating the calls.
So it's a bunch of AI bots talking to each other.
But
if you think about it, that's what the internet is already. It's just a bunch of AI bots talking to each other.
Right now, yeah, unfortunately. But yeah, I feel like you may have just come up with a $1 million idea. But let's think about that over this break. I think we're out of time, but I'm excited about the topic you put in about a hero origin story. Can we talk about that next week, or is it time sensitive?
Oh, it's not time sensitive. Yeah, we can talk about it next week.
Yes,
that's fine. Did we even cover all of your topics? You put in a grubby student story.
Oh, that's a story that I want to tell. It's kind of like a 10-minute long story, 5-10 minutes long.
Oh, okay.
So we'll have to save that for next time.
Next time on Brother Time Z.
Yeah.
Wait,
hero or what?
I was channeling the Dragon Ball Z.
Oh yeah, they power up for 30 minutes and then next time. Well, thank you, listeners, for listening to us power up.
They could be watching their phone while it's playing this episode, so they could be watching us. But yes, continue. Sorry, didn't mean to.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I think you did, and I'm going to set a boundary right there. You see it? I think Trump supporters won this week.
Strangely, yeah, they
congratulations.
Kind of
did. Let's congratulate them with some. I don't have my soundboard up, so I can't do the golf clap. Anyways, we appreciate the listeners listening. Encourage you to rate and review us. You can find our podcast online at brothertimepod.com.
brothertimepod.com.